What does Andrew Yang think about being vice president? And a new poll shows Elizabeth Warren gaining some steam in South Carolina.
We are back with Democratic strategist Michael Starr Hopkins and Patrice Onwuka, senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. All right, so South Carolina poll, if we could put it up there, from Monmouth shows Biden down 6. Interesting. South Carolina's been obviously a total stronghold. Kamala Harris also down 6. Warren up 7. Sanders also up. Up 2. And I'm not even going to talk about Tom Steyer there. But, Michael, do you think that this is the start of a movement potentially away from Joe Biden in the state of South Carolina?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw this kind of thing in 2008 with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, that she was leading in African Americans by a huge margin. And the closer we got to South Carolina and the more electable Barack Obama came, her numbers started to drop. We're seeing the same now with Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. The more she starts to make movement, the more his numbers want to drop. Because at the end of the day, African Americans want to win this election.
Right, and that's the thing is, my friend Joe Simonson over the Washington Examiner reported, based on some sources within the Biden campaign, that they're basically betting on South Carolina. They're betting the farm. They're saying, oh, we've written off Iowa, we've written off New Hampshire, we're going to go all in on South Carolina. And written off Nevada, and we're going to go all in on South Carolina. To Michael's point, that is not a viable strategy. Is that these people want to win the election, just like everybody, a lot of the other Democrats,
else wants to win the election.
Everybody wants to win the election, so they're like, oh well, if this person has the momentum behind them, let's go. I mean, it really does show how precarious his campaign is. Particularly, I mean, the amount of money he has in the bank is abysmal relative to the rest of the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost enthusiasm, but I think he's lost a belief in himself at this point. And I think that if you want to be a leader of a fractured Democratic Party and then also of the nation, you've got to actually believe that you can win people's hearts. And I think Joe Biden, I think he's beaten. I think he is, between the scandal with his son and how that's kind of unfolded, but also just the fact that he thought that this was going to be a coronation. I'm going to bring back Obama's legacy. I'm going to, take the country back to the good old times, and that didn't work. I'm going to be the unifier, the racial unifier. That didn't also work. So he and his campaign have run out of ideas, and I think it shows their desperation that they're just giving up.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, to play devil's advocate here, you haven't seen a lot of shift in support. I mean, here in South Carolina, we see a bit of a drop. It's one poll. But overall, as we were discussing before, post-debate, when I thought he was terrible, right? I thought it was a terrible performance. I thought it was nonsensical. I thought it was bizarre. I thought it was patronizing when he tried to claim credit for the CFPB that Elizabeth Warren set up. Doesn't really change the dime, doesn't really move the needle.
I think when the bottom drops out of this, though, it's going to completely drop out of it. Because like you said, with the fundraising numbers, or even the other day with the lynching comment, and the president made the disgusting comment, and then Biden came out and criticized him, and then the video came out of him.
I mean, we should have known, honestly, that was going to happen.
But their strategy has almost been to keep him off of TV, keep him away from everyone, and then use surrogates to go out and make the case for him. And that's not a long-term strategy that's viable.
Yeah, he doesn't do rallies. He does nothing. It's like all he does is fundraise. He's not even good at fundraising. It's like it's baffling because it's like
spend $1 million on private jet travel.
Yeah, spending $1 million on private jet travel. What is it? 1 in 20 Biden donor dollars were spent on private jets. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like it's being used to a particular end. But at the same time, I mean, look, we bash Biden here all the time. He is still Teflon in certain ways. Like his net drop after that, nothing. There was like a 0.2% change. And Ryan Grimm, who's been on the show, pointed out very well that basically a lot of his supporters, they don't really follow the news. They hear his name, he's got great night. They're like, oh, Joe Biden, yeah, he's good. And they don't watch the debates. They don't watch the news. They might not even be familiar with all the things that we're talking about here. So the real question, Patrice, is like, if they're not paying attention and all they're going off is the name, he could be in this thing till the end, even though he's running a terrible campaign.
Well, then I guess you just laid out his campaign strategy. People still think that he's the best one to go up against Trump. He's got that scrappiness. He'll take Trump on toe to toe. But again, I wonder from a Democratic politics perspective, an old white man who's probably more centrist and moderate than radical and far to the center than the rest of the party is, whether that's what's going to get him through the primaries. And I think That's the challenge for him. But the idea that he can go up against Trump and win, and according to a lot of national polling, he does still do well against the president, then maybe that's what they're banking on and believing that most Americans who support him do believe too.
I think ultimately, we talked about, I don't remember if we did it on the show or not, but at the watch parties for the debates in Philadelphia, one person showed up to the Biden watch party. And look, that may not really show up in the polls, but ultimately, I have to think the fact that he raises basically no money online. I mean, we were talking too with Ryan about when you go on Twitter and say something negative about Joe Biden.
There's
no one fights back. No one fights back.
You're like
anyone here,
now
right?
say something about Tulsi.
Yeah. So I mean, I have to think that lack of enthusiasm, whether it shows up in the primary or in the general election, is a problem.
I mean, if you look at his support, it's older people. I mean, I think of like my grandparents who will always say, it feels like they're picking on Biden. Why are they so mean to Biden? Now, older
we hear
people,
that all the time.
Older people do vote. But I think that the issue in primaries is that you need an electrified base to make it through a primary. And I'm not sure that he has a base that's going to be able to last.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
At the same time, Andrew Yang was asked about whether he'd consider serving as vice president specifically for Joe Biden. Let's take a listen.
I will say the only person who's taken me aside and said that we need to really worry about the fourth industrial revolution because it could potentially tear our country apart is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden pulled you aside. That's an intriguing. Would you serve on a Biden ticket? You said you were open to anything.
I'm definitely open to working with Joe. We've actually talked about it.
Wow.
Actually talked about it. That was interesting, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just pretty much said, whenever I drop out, I'm just jumping over to the Biden camp and jumping on his plane. I mean, and I think I mentioned it earlier, Andrew Yang brings a lot to the ticket, to a Biden ticket. Balances youthfulness, balances ethnic diversity, balances that business mindedness. I mean, certainly he's only a single-minded or single-issue candidate, but that issue resonates with a lot of people. And so I think he brings that youthful energy and that enthusiasm that you're talking about. Question is, though, is Yang still far enough to the left that it would still wrangle Bernie supporters over, wrangle Warren supporters over? And I don't think he is.
He has a lot of crossover support from Bernie. I would also dispute that he's a single issue candidate. He obviously UBI is at the center, but he's got a lot of ideas on a lot of different things. I think this is consistent with Andrew's brand, though. I mean, he's a guy who he'll go on Fox News, he'll go talk to Joe Rogan, he'll go debate.
Talks to everybody.
But he talks to everybody, right? He's open to talking to and having a conversation with and potentially serving with anyone. So I thought it was very consistent with basically who he is.
And that was a pretty shrewd political move because talking about Biden potentially putting him on the ticket kind of validates him as a serious candidate.
Sure.
And so now moving forward, I mean, people didn't expect him to make it this far. No one thought he would be on the stage for the fourth or fifth debate. And so now not only is he going to be on the stage, but he's talking about potentially being a VP nominee to someone like Biden. I mean, that in and of itself creates a huge narrative around it.
It's just such a strange ticket to I mean, the former vice president. I mean, Andrew is so much of the future. Like, that's so much what he represents. I guess it would make sense from a strategic perspective for Biden, but it would really dilute the Yang brand because, I mean, that is just so kind of the opposite of what Joe Biden is all about.
If you're just doing the political calculus of like, what do we have and what do we need? Like, we have this establishment, we need the grassroots energy.
Right.
Andrew Yang definitely has the grassroots energy. Is it going to show up for a Biden Yang ticket?
And maybe he feels like Yang would bring some of the Silicon Valley interest. But does he bring a lot of other stuff other than just like the cosmetic or the window dressing stuff? I wonder about that. And maybe Biden doesn't want someone to upstage him. He wouldn't want someone who takes a lot of energy and interest to be number two on his ticket. He wants to be the main stage.
I'd say you shouldn't pick Andrew Yang then. That would be a poor choice.
The Yang gang is wild.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Tomorrow on Rising, Sanders 2020 National Policy Director Josh Orton is going to tell us about the senator's newest policy proposal, the specifics around legalizing marijuana.
I'll have some thoughts about that. And Team Rising will be in the house. Please like, share, subscribe as always. Hit the subscribe button so you'll always get notified for your latest videos, lives, and debate coverage. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Have a great day, guys.